Militants storm headquarters of military in Pakistan in one of the most brazen attacks here in recent years. Gunmen, dressed in military uniforms on Saturday, stormed the Pakistani Army headquarters and took more than a dozen security officers hostage, producing a standoff that continued into the evening. The attack, which left at least 10 people dead, was the third major militant strike in Pakistan in a week, and comes as the government is planning an imminent offensive against Islamist militants in their strongholds in the rugged mountains along the border with Afghanistan. It showed that the militants retained the ability to strike at the very heart of Pakistan's security apparatus, despite recent military operations against their forces and the killing of the Taliban leader. But now they have a brand new leader. By Saturday evening, 4 attackers had been killed. At least 2 gunmen were holding at least a dozen security officials hostage, military and intelligence officials said. The gunmen were holed up in a guard station just outside the sprawling Army headquarters compound. However, an intelligence official said the hostages were being held in a security building inside the headquarters. A military official said the Army was trying to capture the gunmen alive. 2 senior officers, a brigadier and a lieutenant colonel, and at least 4 soldiers were killed in the attack. So in other words, the Taliban or the militants are getting closer and closer. The attack, coming after bombings last week on United Nations offices in the capital, Islamabad, and another crowded market in Peshawar, seemed to herald a new offensive by the Taliban to bring the battle to the government. So, what about the nuclear weapons? Are they positively sure that they are secure? That is a legitimate question, I would say. In a news conference last weekend, the new leader of the Pakistani Taliban warned that the Pakistani military would be the group's main target. Security experts said that the strategy of attacking the military at its headquarters served to keep the war away from the Taliban home territory and the tribal areas. Yes, the Taliban are getting closer and closer. The attack also raised questions about Pakistan's military strategy against the insurgents. On a television news show, a retired general said the army had shown complacency and appeasement towards the Taliban threat. In particular, he said the military had delayed for too long the campaign in the tribal areas. For 2 weeks, the army has said it is about to begin an all-out assault, but so far they have not done so. The insurgents' strategy for Taliban, however, seemed clear and decisive. Each of the last 3 attacks seemed to have been chosen for a specific reason. While the attack on Saturday was a frontal strike on the military, the suicide bombing at the United Nations World Food Program office in Islamabad singled out international aid workers who the Taliban say should leave the country. 5 people were killed in that attack. In Peshawar, the capital of the northwest frontier province, a car bomb killed at least 48 people in the busiest shopping center or bazaar at noon Friday when it was most crowded. It is one of the most lethal attacks in the city. It has become a consistent target of the Taliban. The bombs seem to keep getting bigger and bigger. security experts said more attacks are likely to follow because the militants had cells planted throughout Punjab, the most populous province, and were clearly refining assault techniques from long-term association with Al-Qaeda. In other words, the attacks are getting more and more sophisticated and more deadly. They've had many years of training now. The attack on Saturday began late in the morning when a van carrying a still undetermined number of militants tried to breach the outer security cordon of the Army's headquarters. They were stopped and soon heavy firing started, said one witness. Pakistani military commandos immediately sealed off the area as they fought the militants, who reported to be young men armed with heavy weapons. The reports the attackers lobbed several hand grenades. The militants were wearing camouflage fatigues, which initially confused the Pakistani troops. In some kind of way, this is a bad sign. The target was symbolic, said an editor at Dawn newspaper, but it fit a pattern of disguising themselves and trying to penetrate security institutions. Yes, this is a trend. Penetrating security institutions. Are the nukes in Pakistan safe? Again, that is a legitimate question. Gun battles snarled traffic in a busy, congested commercial neighborhood nearby. Television images showed military helicopters hovering over the Army headquarters as military commandos took positions. Yes, there's something big going on here. Something much more. Pakistan is not doing too well, or doesn't seem to be doing too well, when it comes to the Taliban or the militants. The militants are getting more brazen in their attacks, and they're getting more sophisticated. This is a sign. And these are more signs of the end times transition days. Transition is ongoing. It's a process. It's happening day by day all around the world.